In today's video, I will be reacting to why Roblox Bedwars is done.
Roblox Bedwars is done. This is the conclusion you could draw after seeing the game lose over half of its player base, with all of its biggest YouTubers permanently leaving the game. It really brings the question, what happened? How did such a once so popular game lose everything? And what does the future hold for this dying game? This video will cover it all as we talk about the fall of Roblox Bedwars. Let's begin by talking about the updates. It's very well known that updates are what keep a game alive. Good updates can bring a game more players, while bad ones can completely kill it off. But when looking at Bedwars, the updates just don't feel like what they used to. Remember the days when the community used to come together and get excited about a Bedwars update? Yeah, I miss those days. So what happened? I think we can all agree that over the last 6 months, updates have just become repetitive. It's hard to even remember the last time we received something good, as none of the recent updates have been fun. And if you think about it, how many new kits do we need? How many different colored lucky blocks do we need until enough is enough? It's clear that almost nobody is enjoying these updates, and this is just the smallest issue we'll be covering in this video, with the ones later on being the main things that are killing this game. The next problem is one I'm sure you've probably noticed, the pay-to-win system. Bedwars is a game where the person who spends the most money will have the biggest advantage. This system alone is horrible, but there's something you probably haven't noticed, which is how Bedwars has been milking their player base out of millions of Robux. Let me explain. When a new Bedwars kit is released, it almost always becomes the most powerful kit in the game, and players are forced to buy that kit or be stuck losing to people who spend money. Then a few weeks later, a new kit releases and the kit before gets nerfed, and now the new kit is the best. This cycle repeats and forces players to spend money just to even be able to play the game. While there have been some improvements made, such as a kitless mode, this just isn't enough to fix this massive problem. And it's clear that players are sick of wasting their money, and is a problem we need to see fixed. But that's nothing in comparison to a change that single-handedly ruins this game, and that's the skill gap, or in other words, how sweaty the player base is. Many of you likely first played when Bedwars wasn't as difficult, and you might remember how much easier it was to become a good player. But now, players are getting better and better by the day, and becoming an even decent player requires you to quite literally grind for months and pour hundreds of hours into the game. This is horrible for people who are trying to get into Bedwars, as they will almost never be able to win any matches, as the lobbies are now infested by tryhards and sweats. Imagine being a new player and constantly dying to people who have thousands of wins. I would probably quit right then and there. The issues I mentioned before are important, but nothing in comparison to the ones I'll be talking about later on. This next problem is actually one that comes outside of Bedwars, and it's where you're watching this video. If you've been on YouTube, you may have noticed that almost every Bedwars YouTuber has completely quit the game. Fulton, Mini Bloxia, and Tapwater, just to name a few, were some of the biggest creators on the platform, but are now just gone? This is a problem which has severe consequences to the game, as it is very well known that YouTubers are the only way games can maintain popularity. But why? Why is there not one Bedwars YouTuber left? Yeah, that answers my question. It's clear that Bladeball is pulling in much more views than Bedwars. An example of this is Fulton, a former Bedwars YouTuber, who is now getting over double the views he got from Bedwars. So why would he ever want to come back to a game which is giving his channel less views and attention? And this is the same way with every other former Bedwars creator. It really makes you wonder, what does Bladeball do better than Bedwars? How is this a better game? And the answer is nothing. I believe Bladeball is a game that cannot stay popular forever, as it offers barely any content. I mean, all you do is hit a ball back and forth, and if you look at the graphs, Bladeball is actually dying much faster than Bedwars, and some people think it will soon become less popular. We've covered a lot of issues so far, but is there something that could be done to save this game? What could bring Bedwars back to its former glory? We will be talking about this after I cover what could be the biggest problem with this game. All of the issues so far have been important, but this one is what I believe to be ruining this game, and that's the constant amount of gameplay changes. Every season, Bedwars changes so much, to the point where it feels like a completely new game. This is something that players hate, and for good reason. What is the point of becoming good at Bed Wars Season 8 just to be trash at Season 9? It's a waste of time, and punishes being a skilled player. Not to mention, it overcomplicates the game, which benefits from being simplistic. Every person I've asked who quit this game has told me that it's for this reason, and isn't the developer's fault at all. If they choose not to change the game too much, it will begin to feel repetitive. And if they choose to give it consistent updates, it will feel overcomplicated. There simply isn't a solution. Or is there? There has to be something that could be done to revive this game. And I think one of the main things they could do is slow down on updates. Now, how could this possibly be good? How would updating less make a game more popular? What would be better? One rushed out, filler update a week, or one really fun, memorable updates every few? The choice is obvious. Not to mention, less updates bring more hype to them, which can never hurt a game. I mean, is there even one game that is pumping out as much content as Bed Wars? This is because developers understand that players don't like a game which constantly changes, but rather games that do one big change once in a while. Now, I do think despite this, there should be weekly changes, but have them be small, like refreshing the free kits. But I don't think this alone could save Bed Wars. I think Bed Wars should also completely stop releasing kits. Now hear me out, we have almost 100 kits, and I think we can agree that we have enough. The Battle Pass kits can stay, but we got so many kits to the point where none of them feel special. Now another change, which is just as important, is for Bed Wars to balance out the kits. It's clear that some of the kits are way too overpowered, with some others being trash that you're better off going kitless. This is a change which would allow players to not have to buy multiple kits. I mean, what is the actual point of using Inferno Shielder or Trapper? This problem is so bad to the point where players will actually gift each other bad kits just for the sole purpose of messing with them. But the last change, is easily the most important, is skill-based game placement. In short, placing players of the same skill level against each other. While this does exist, it's extremely flawed and will still do unfair matchmaking. So what's next? What does the future of Bed Wars look like? Well, I honestly think it's gonna stay the same. By looking at the player count charts, you can see that Bed Wars is very slowly dying. Last year averaging 60,000 players to this year averaging 30. It will by no means be a fast process, but I do think that if nothing changes, Bed Wars will die, and eventually, the last big YouTuber will leave. Even if the actions I mentioned were put into place, I think it would still delay the death of this game, because unfortunately, Bed Wars has been around for almost 3 years. For a PvP game, that's about the end of its lifespan. I would really like to see this game blow up again, but it would really require some major issues to be fixed, and some serious changes to be made, which I think the developers are capable of doing. Thank you for watching.
Are you looking forward to buying the Tap Water 2 clan membership? Well, in this video, I will be showing you how to buy it and the amazing perks.
Do you know where secrets go? 'Cause I've forgotten mine. They've slipped out of my control, and you know where they hide. Your love's a little heavy, you're touching me already, and it's working up my nerves. You should probably forget me, 'cause I'm terrified you'll get me when I'm at my worst. It's not too late to let you know that you're in love with a ghost. So